Welcome to our second lecture of Agentic AI series, in which today we are going to cover a very important topic called as model selection for AI agents. Let me tell you why. Because for every Agentic AI application, model serves as its brain and it directly influences the performance of our Agentic AI application, the scalability of our Agentic AI application, the latency, and most important, the cost of our Agentic AI application. This is the very important parameter, right? To choose the correct large language models or LLM or any model, the important parameter is task complexity. For example, you want to build a reasoning agent, okay, or you want to have a managed infrastructure that is managed by the providers of the LLM. Then you can choose large foundational models, and also you have a lot of budget also for your application. Then you can choose large foundational models. Okay, the major con is the cost is very high, and the major pro is the quality of models is also very high, right? But if you want to build a very simple customer support agent, then you don't need a large foundational models. Then you can use a smaller model. For example, Phi 4 or Model Birds variants or Llama 3.1, which is an 8 billion parameter model. Okay, the benefits is very simple, can run on local hardware and is less expensive and is quickly responsive. Here, there is some issues of latency also in the large foundational models, right? Now, the role of modality. For example, you want to build an agent that can understand medical imagery. Then you will not use the text only models that can input text only and can output a text only. You want the model to input a image. Okay, so this is also a very important parameter while selecting the our LLM model. Now, there are various different types of LLM models. This topic I have also discussed in the previous lecture, but let's discuss it again. Here I have only written two, but there are mainly three types of LLM models in this domain, which is open versus proprietary. I don't know what is this. These are open source, open weight, and proprietary models, right? So what are open source models? Open source models are that types of models whose whole, you can say, whole training data and everything that you need is available for common person, right? What is the open weight model? I have also written here. The open weight models are that types of models whose weight is only available to you, right? You don't have the training data on which the model has been trained. And simply the proprietary models, these are also called as closed source models. Nothing is available for you. You can only access these models via an API call, but the open weights model and the open source models, you can download it on your local system also, right? So based on your requirements of your agentic AI application, you can use open source or open weight or proprietary models, right? Now, domain specific task. For example, you want a medical law expert agent, but there are no models that are expert in medical law. But we have general models that are trained on massive internet scale data, so they are expert on general domains. But if you want your model to be expert in a particular domain, for example medicinal law, I have written also here some, yeah, medicinal law. No, I have written medicine, comma law, but there is a niche branch of law called as medicinal law that fights for company, for example, Pfizer. So you have to fine tune your model on that particular data also. So your model will be expert in that domain, will be specifically expert to handle that types of domain, right? Now, hybrid strategies and routing. The topic of routing I will cover in the later part of this lecture series, not in this lecture, in the later part of this lecture, because this is a very important topic. What routing does? Routing, we generally study routing in the form of tools that the LLM can call different types of tools on the basis of the task that it is on the basis of task it has been performed by the help of a router. But in this case, what is the routing? Right. Let me explain. For example, your agents want to handle a complex task also and very simple task also. For example, uh, You can take any example. A very simple task also and very complex task also. And also the agent, initially the task can be simple, but at the later part of the task can be complex. For example, in the customer support only, some tasks can be very simple, some tasks can be very complex, right? But you also have to optimize on the basis of the cost. So what you can do? You can also use a lightweight model and heavyweight model, and you can assign a router that will call that model which is for example, there is very complex task. Okay, then you can call the heavy models, right? For example, our GPT class models. And for example, the task is very easy, then you can choose the light models like our llama 3.1, which is the 8 billion parameter. Let's read this line. Ultimately, the model selection is not one-time decision, but a strategic decision choice that must be revisited as agent capabilities, user needs, and infrastructure evolves. If you don't understand this line, no problem. You will understand in this line in the later part of this lecture series. Okay. So that is for this lecture. I hope to see you in the next lecture soon.